You know, it's behind the scenes. Got to get behind the scenes. Get started. Everything has to be set up first. Hello. What's the volume today? Whoop. We got all kinds of things going on. Date to the 14th. Hello. So yeah, I've been working on this AI assistant. Again, it's another one of these side projects I thought you would find interesting on my side project channel. Uh, these are the shorter form ones, but this is 900 lines, so who knows? It could go a while. But thought you'd like to see. Go straight to it. Here it is. So the idea here is, you just want to cobble together things that exist in Python, and that's what it's great for, and just bring them in and make them work together. So in this case, I wanted to make, the quintessential AI assistant style thing where you talk to it and it talks back. You can tell it to shut up. Just type to it if you prefer and have it type back, and then also have it do things like just throw commands in there. And I guess usually you would have something like, I guess, what, Mid-Journey, where you would, you're generally speaking most of the time generating images, but you can also do send commands like delete them, bring old images out and things with them. So the same idea here, except I didn't put slashes on them. I just said, well, just type something that's obviously a command, and just interpret that. So I just basically, once we get to this part, see, it's all just very rote. But it's a really nice day today. It's like in the 80s, something, Austin. So feeling pretty spry. How about you? So throwing this all together was pretty. I mean, this is started out very modest. I had a thing which I was already using to just sort of try each way of talking to models. I was like, I'll make a Python script. It's probably here. Which was the point was just to figure out how to talk to bloody things using different interfaces, and I settled on just using Olama, or more often I'll probably end up just using a URL file. Walk through they call them endpoint. Endpoint. Used to this. I'll get used to this language eventually. So I set this up with listen for voice input, and I found, that basically the thing that I was using was Google. I think I'm still using Google to do the voice recognition. Well, we'll see when we get there. Send the resulting text to Olama, of course. When the reply comes back, speak the text if that's on. And then for background listening, I haven't done this yet, but I was looking at some under Uberi speech recognition. Might do a better job than Google. I'll come back to that. But so far, I haven't pulled anything down. I'm sure there's something good now. Probably some great model for doing general speech. That isn't too bad. Each one, of course, when you have once you start loading a few models, it's like, oh, I wanted to do say text to image. I want to speak. They have it generate an image for me. I can do that, but I made it a command instead. I just say image generates the image. So here we have ongoing enhancements, ideas, commands to modify conversation parameters, toggle microphones. That's all in there. Additional commands to limited control of the system, such as launching an app. Of course, tie together command line utilities and other AI-oriented scripts, which I haven't done much of, but I've done a little bit. Like, for example, the good one would be generating an image. Have a command and it calls a different script that generates the image. That script is being continuously developed as well. That's just talking to Comfy UI, of course. Sending a little Comfy UI or workflow and saying, here, run this workflow and tell me when the image is ready, and it knows where to go and look. So anyway, it also shows the image in Ghosty because Ghosty has the ability to do that. I was demonstrating that yesterday. It's pretty cool. So we'll get to that eventually. So right now, let's see. Anything else? Defining commands in terms of agents, functions, and tools. So yeah, this gets a little more into things where I would start to look at agents. Now I'm doing a very slow roll on this AI stuff. I'm not leaping into the deep end of the pool so much like everyone with running 1,000 agents and seeing how much they can do in 3 days. It's cool. I think that's great. It's really neat to see what happens, but I don't have the tokens. And at the same time, I'm also like the stuff I want to do is like very controlled. And whenever I see stuff that's like hallucinating or whatever, it's like, well, if I have a huge pile and I have to dig through that to find the hallucination, that sucks. I would rather do have a small pile. So, yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at is with using these tools, and I'm finding them very useful. They do great things. They've written parts of scripts like this for me. I can throw this in there and say make it better, and it probably will. Even the small models are pretty good at that now, like using GPKOSS 20B a lot, but now I've switched over to uh, Qwen 3.5 30B with 3 billion active parameters. Pretty good. It's speedy. It's responsive, and its responses are good. I haven't had any major problems with them at all. Um, it sometimes does overthink, so you can tell, but you can generally tell models not to think, and that's one of the instructions I'm gonna have to remember to start giving to models when I don't want them to think as an additional part of the system prompt. But yeah, each of these, of course, is you're sending the whole file and getting something back, and it's pretty cool. And these aren't big piles, what up to a megabyte or something. Not huge. So right now, then I used so I mentioned with the things you would need to install, and I probably missed some because I've been adding on. But then of course port audio. I don't know if I have actually. I'm even using port audio yet, so I might need it for other things, but it's there. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting this OBS lately. I don't know where it's coming from. It may be this background. I don't know. But I gotta figure out what's. Um, oh, I do have some notes about things I have to check on Marlin. But we'll come back to that. So I'm gonna just quit Discord, even though it's helping me. I'll quit GitHub Desktop for now. Preview, and even Safari can go away for now. That may be causing us some troubles. And if I just keep these open, I think I should be good. They're pretty inert. You're doing something. So before I get into the code, let me give you a quick demo of the AI assistant where it's at now. And I'll put on the verbose mode. Or I may even have help there now. It does, yeah. I'm using argparse, and you get help for free, usage for free, so that's pretty cool. So here's your usage, help, listen, quiet. So right out of the gate, you can tell it to listen or not. You can tell it not to speak. It speaks normally, otherwise you quiet. You can load an old conversation. Default will be untitled chat, and that's something I can figure. I should put quotes around that. Meanwhile, verbose, debug, model, and you can specify a model. I actually think I'll do model. Talk to when, if I know the name of it, we'll just list them and make sure I know the name. Is Quen 3.5. Are you? Well, you know what? I don't have it. I'm gonna have to set this up to talk to LM Studio. Use its server on port 1234. Don't think I have it set up to do that. So let's just stick with the good old GP process is fine. So going back, verbose, which shows more message going on. So it's telling us it's using 128 GB, which is a version that conversation untitled today's date and creating a new conversation. And So right now it's utilizing speech.
What can I do for you today?
Go. Hear that? So I can say something like, break me, you can be my co-host on the live stream while I talk about making AI. Now, of course, I can tell it this, and I'll just type it for. And it'll rename it for me, which has a little function.
Absolutely. I'm ready to jump in as your co-host for the live stream on building an AI assistant. I'll keep the conversation flowing, ask clarifying questions, break down complex concepts into bit-sized explanations, and keep the audience engaged with real-time examples and anecdotes. Whether you need me to recap key points, spotlight code snippets, or highlight best practice design patterns, I've got you covered. Just let me know the structure you're aiming for and any particular topics you want to emphasize, and I'll be there to help make the session smooth, informative, and entertaining.
Yeah, let's try making it more terse. Try a style where uh, we only speak one sentence per reply.
Sure thing, let's keep each reply to just one sentence.
There you go. That should make things flow a bit better. So this is cool. Of course, this is no different from your usual situation where you're talking to an AI assistant through a web interface and it has some kind of voice. I happen to be using the Apple's built-in voice text to speech. So that's just why it sounds probably pretty bad. But I tried to make I picked a voice and I tried to make it a little more robotic, less personable, but it's got some inflection which doesn't hurt. Anyway, there you go. So now I can do things like describe for me uh, something interesting that I could generate an image for of. There, now we'll get an image generation.
Mystical twilight forest, a moonlit glade with bioluminescent mushrooms, luminous fireflies swirling around ancient, towering trees, and a silver mist drifting through the branches.
I like it. All right, how about imagine that. Now, if I have Comfy UI running, which successfully start making an image for me, I'll load up Comfy, ready to go. Failed. Oh, try that again. Once Comfy is running. Do it again. Now you'll notice that when I said imagine that, it actually generated a more lengthy description, and that's actually on purpose. There's a separate agent that I have helping me that its purpose is to generate more interesting descriptions that are better for an image generator to then take and use. And specifically, I think I'm using Stable Diffusion 3.5, which is a little more Flux-like in its style of generating images. We don't actually need to have Comfy UI open at all to do that. At least not the UI. Terminal has it running, so it'll get the image request shortly. Actually, it's a little slow, and I'm not sure why. Oh, and we're also going to get some slog on the stream, so I apologize for that. Hopefully the audio won't go out too bad. But yeah, it's going to generate that image. Anyway, this is, just the tip of the iceberg of what you can do in terms of making your own AI assistant. So let me give you the breakdown on how easy this was, or not. So here I have first the structure of the thing. Initially I started with just one script, and of course as you do things you're like, well, I would rather these things, long system prompts, be in their own files and so on. And then I decided to just encapsulate them as code within code files. So each agent in this agent subfolder, and if you would do, say import agent assistant, it actually imports subfolder agent assistant py, gets pulled in. I gave it a name, helpy, and this agent is just your assistant. And so all the system prompt text and everything is just defined in here as on. I could pull it into some JSON form or whatever, but this is very convenient. Throw in things like the current date or whatever else I need to do with it programmatically. And if possible, the assistant can also have tools that are thrown into these files as well, or separately. More often, I would say, it's a function you can just call, then it should probably be thought of as, well, a type of tool. Whereas it's separate from another type. Well, I would say the best way to have tools probably is to have callable functions inside of Python scripts like this rather than have external. Here you can call external tools from the function, but the cool thing about having a function is that you very much like strain what it's called. Whereas if something just has a general call anything externally kind of thing, you don't know necessarily what it's called. But tools are pretty well defined now. So as for generating its own tools and its own assistants, like once I would show it this, I could generate more types of agents just by showing it examples. Here's a chatterbox agent file, which I don't know why it's exactly here in agent. Oh yeah, to generate an image in a chat. So I think this was generate speech. This was pretty cool. Chatterbox I trained my voice into, so I can actually have it speak in my voice, which is very weird. So I give it any text, but this is actually, I borrowed this script here from Chatterbox itself. So borrowing that, so that's not exactly done yet, but it's going to be an interesting, cool thing. I want to be able to have it speak more in a more interesting voice. The problem is you really want that real-time response, and text-to-speech in the system is the best option for that. Everything else has lag. There may be systems now that are a lot better. I tried all of them, but there's a few that I've got downloaded, spun up. But Prompty is the one that generates image, and so this is a little on the longer side, but you can see it has an agent to generate an image. Be told it has this capability, the LM, and how to invoke it as a tool. So I could work that out. That's I haven't exactly worked it out because it's always in flux how they're going to call tools. But I think there's as far as like say if I wanted an Olama model to call a tool, I could give it information about the tools it has in a tool section, the way that we do. In a tool section, the way that you have like a system prompt, you can have other things in that same area that tell it what it can do, and then from that point forward, have the ability to call those things. So I just have to know how to structure that for. I just have to sort that out. Mostly, I've been having just fun doing thing, telling it that you are using the whole workflow or whatever. And then down here is where it just combines everything, the system prompt, the user prompt. Please create an evocative image prompt based on the entire previous conversation. So that's the first thing it does. It actually calls an LLM do this and just calls its external script there. And then there's this concept I have of a recipe was just you give it the whole conversation. It decides what parts to pull out to make the things it needs to then pass on to the next stage. So if I look at how recipe is used in my AI assistant here, see it's get agent chat reply. And that's basically about agent chat replies. And then as far as generating an image, that all that does is does the same thing. It gets the chat reply, and then it uses the image prompt by getting it from the content of the image message, and then it prints that message that it got back, or the pretty prompt that it's going to use, and then it generates the image using this function in here. So an agent has, you could say, this is a way of just encapsulating. I could have put this into the AI assistant itself and have all kinds of things be able to use it. Why not? But I threw it in here just because this is more like, well, I want this to just be a hub. This should just be a capability. So if it takes images in, great. That'll be something I can work out when I have the ability to do that. But right now I'm just more concerned with just being able to chat with it. So demonstrating that, of course, all I do is say listen. Oh, we got our image back. All right, nice one. Now I can tell it listen so that it can be part of the conversation in our podcast.
Voice mode.
All right, the podcast is going well, or I should say the live stream, and you're in it now. So what do you think? Hello. Morning co-host ever, but it's been a while since I loaded the model.
Sounds great, energetic, on point, and the AI insights are keeping the audience engaged and curious.
All right, great to have you here. I was just telling the listeners about using encapsulation in agent files to make all the functionality of a particular agent in one place.
Encapsulating all an agent's behavior within a single file not only keeps the code tidy but also makes it easier to test, refactor, and swap out components without touching unrelated logic.
Stop listening.
Text mode.
So now it's in text mode, so it's not listening to us anymore, which allows me to continue to tell you more about the code without getting the agent too involved. So if I need to talk to it and have a back and forth conversation, I don't know how often that happens, but you could do that. You could be like, you could decide to have a debate on the shape of the Earth or something, or whatever you wanted, and that would be hilarious. But that's one way. That's one way you could do it with a local agent. So I'll just give you the lowdown on the structure of this thing. Let me see if I can compress it. Oh yeah, there you go. See, by collapsing it, there's hardly anything to this thing. Check it out. So I had to make some class wrappers and other things to make this neat, but we're bringing in all the things we need: readline, Olama, speech recognition. I'm using threading for the text-to-speech so that it can run in the background and it won't interfere with typing or doing other things. So it does eventually come back with the text-to-speech, but it's slow the first time it loads. Everything is slow to load at first, and then once it gets going. So Olama can be set up to stay loaded for longer, but right now it quits after 4 minutes. If you don't interact with it, it unloads again. Reload it every 4 minutes. You don't set that up, or as long as we keep talking to it. So I haven't used Chatterbox yet, but I'm still working on that. That's interesting. I got the sense that again, that's not very fast, but it might be fast for short segments. So anyway, so you can see that was kind of nice. I brought in the assistants using that nice import method, which is very nice. I'm really liking that about Python, that it simplifies it down to that level. It feels very, and I like component-based things. Of course, I imported I/O to be able to do basic I/O stuff, and PyDub. Um, I imported audio segment and silence so that I can tell whether or not the audio that has been spoken or whatever is quiet or it should be ignored. So that's kind of the stuff you need. And then finally, there's a little configuration. Not a bad way to set up your scripts. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can do these things, but this is probably typical. Log folder. What's the name of the untitled chat? You know, am I going to be debugging? Is verbose on by default? Stuff like that. Which model do I want to talk to by default? And then little things like getting the terminal width so I can use that to format, like I format the text but on the output so that it is wrapped. I want to make sure it's wrapped to the right width. That works pretty well. Then we have a thing to print in color, which can be useful, and then a thing to speak using say. Pretty straightforward. You just use subprocess say on the Mac anyway, and very straightforward. And if it's already there, I kill it. The say proc just it gets started and then I kill it before I reuse. And which I guess makes sense rather than spawn new ones. There may be a better way to do that, but these things you can kill processes all day and they're fun. Speak with Vibe Voice, of course, which I haven't set up. Speak with Chatterbox, I haven't set up, so that's called in the wings. That'll come together at some point. I was looking at keeping some here, obviously, but Speak with Text to Speech, the system version, where it just says it. Then wrap lines, formatting, basically, of the text. It's longer than it should be. Then we have, what's this? Replace file placeholders. What I use this for exactly? Let's see. Error reading, etc., etc. Compile. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's doing search and replace on. Every clearance of file this with. Have some use for that. Down here. I see. Add the given text prompt to the conversation, send the complete conversation. Get the LLM reply message and return the LLM. Content is replace file place. I see. So that's interesting. I guess I had this intent of being able to say, here's the contents of a file inside the chat, and I actually implemented it. Well, who knew? So that's good to know. I must have been a very late night when I did that one. So yeah, I remember this now. So yeah, this is pretty cool. You can, if you need to include a file in your conversation, you can't exactly drag and drop it, but you can start with put in braces like this with the path. Once you have smudge, then you can finish it off with a brace, boop, and then it will do the right thing and send it to the conversation. So I guess I should definitely works. Let's try it out. Let's make it look at prompty. Just give us just a summary of what it is, and that'll be enough to convince us that it worked. So okay, file. What we have to do with braces, drop the path in. Boom. Hope it works. So this is a basic idea, drag and drop. AI assistant agent prompt DPY in folder. Projects. The ever-growing projects folder. Gotta shrink that thing. I did some 3D printing yesterday on the green screen behind. Well, itself, but a
This
folder
file
for it.
defines a prompty agent that crafts concise, vivid image prompts from conversation history, and then calls a local comfy UI instance to generate and optionally display images, with configurable workflow, aspect ratio, and image output folder.
That's great. That's exactly what it is. Thank you for summarizing that for me. So yeah, it defines a prompty agent that crafts concise, vivid image prompts from conversation. It says concise, vivid. Very nice. Um, so that's pretty cool. You can just do it that way. Um, and it keeps you in the terminal if you're into being in the terminal. This probably interoperates pretty well with tmux, stuff like that. Again, it was done with Ghosty in mind because of its ability to display images. A very nice thing. And having an instance of Comfy UI is not unusual for us these days. Although, right now I don't know Emery, both GPT, OSS, and Comfy UI with this model loaded. Although I believe Comfy UI will unload the model as well for us after. I think it only loads it for the period of done it's doing the generation right away. I could be wrong about that, but it depends on your configuration. Anyway, that's pretty cool. So getting down to this, now I have shown you all the bits and pieces that we are using, but check it out. I have a class here. This is one of the things that rather annoys me about the preferences of Python generating AI is that it always puts the information about something inside of it. I mean, I don't mind seeing the structure in this way, but I'd rather it's outside rather than inside as a preference. But if you want to do that, you can do here, and you just don't reproduce what it says inside. But I'm going to make a note here myself. And the same with chip computer class, which I called it because I want this to be as much neutral in being able to provide information if it was figured that way. So, for example, yeah, view assistant, this actually brings the commands in. So the conversation, its purpose is merely to keep track of the conversation you've had so far, be able to do things with it, restore the history from a file, create a title, set a file name, do all these kind of reinitialize, start, rename file, fresh file name, all this boring stuff that you to do with a conversation. Save it, get the list of saved conversations. You would say that's more like the class method rather than that select and restore. List chats and load by number, so on. So I made these little pretty. That's why they're a little longer. Anytime you want to add things and make them human readable and things, you get a little bit of a. So overall, I wanted them to look pretty in column. Work. So you get to select and restore a conversation. So I can show you that. I say load. Gives me a list of my prior conversations. Tries to indent them properly, but I did a great job. And you just pick the number you want to reload. So go back to the one we are doing now is called should be, we don't necessarily have to save it. Is it JavaScript Pyramid Screensaver? Is it, oh, it's not the one we're in. That's right, we can't load the one we're in. I'm just being dumb, it doesn't list it. So let's load number 24, Mac Packaging Guide. And then we can replay that conversation, which, nothing too exciting there. How do I package a Python script? So you can replay a conversation. So simple way to get around your conversation previously. Of course, once you've got hundreds of these or whatever, they become. So, you know, you want something where, but this has been kind of a fun one. Getting into like when it reads this back, it won't read all the code out. It'll just say, here's some code in here, and it's smart enough to like skip that out. So pretty cool. And then if I want to go back to my previous conversation, AI Assistant Workshop 27, I guess that's us. Then we can replay that. I won't play the image back, which kind of, I'm gonna have to remember to get that in there. When it generate an image, it'll, and also when you say imagine that, like, notice that it includes the entire file that I stuck in there, so I may want to strip that out when I play back images as well, conversations. But that's pretty cool. It worked out well. It remembered that whole part, and I do want to talk about it. It won't reload the files. Makes sense that it should just do that, because it does it on input. And if the file were to change, I would not necessarily want this conversation history to change. So this is kind of the way to do it. Pretty cool. So it does a good job of that, and then I did my best to sort of color code, like, you know, the AI responses in some other color, but I should probably make them more lurid or something. I went for a organic color scheme, which is aesthetic here. Ghosty, you can do. So saving and restoring his conversation's pretty cool. Sending a message to a conversation, replaying the conversation you just saw. Clearing the conversation, simple enough to do. You can say clear a conversation, gives you a, of course you can look for your saved conversation. At certain points it will save the conversation. It will print out that it did so. Pretty much does anytime you add a new message, it saves it again in the file. So as it goes on, update it. And then set title, rename, updating the history file name. Of course, if you can also ask it to rename anytime. So if I don't like it'll go to an assistant and ask it to generate a new name for it. I didn't create a specific assistant for that, I think. General assistant is, you know, this general assistant, which I think is the most, and also tailor it to make sure it uses text-to-speech style output rather than spitting out a lot of markdown. Is really useful because try to run markdown through speech, it's really bad. Doesn't necessarily mean that the answers will, bullet points and stuff don't necessarily make it better. I don't think. What do you think? Anyway, now we're down to setting a title, refresh file name. You'll notice that set title uses this, where is it? Oh, set title doesn't actually do the click creative part. Refresh file name, rename file based on the date. So they do have dates on them. It's useful. It keeps them recorded automatically. And you can use, you know, so many long file names now, and we just have never taken advantage of it. We can stick emojis in them and stuff, so why not make our file names? We're doing it now. Starting a new untitled conversation without renaming the previous one. So yeah, you can restart a conversation. Basically re-inits it and does the whole thing. Title from path. Yeah, it needs to know that kind of stuff. That's for the log file, it looks like. Or history. Of course, get and clear history. So yeah, nothing too exciting here. Pop last in. And that's useful, I think, for when it wants to generate an image. thing, or I'm not sure exactly what I use that for. It may just be utility. Good to see you, Twitch. Twitch is saying hello, and I want to say hello back. Meanwhile, ship computer. Finally, now we're getting to the meat and potatoes here. So this is a real class. It gets initialized. Not just a capsule for a conversation. It has some things going on. So it actually encapsulates a conversation called convo, and then it gets the global verbose from the arguments that are passed into it. So we initialize this based on the argument. So it's sort of like basically the caretaker of all the good arguments that you pass to it, including the model name, from the args model, debug, all this stuff, and they defaults. So you check the defaults below. That'll tell you what they are, and then we tell it, what we're doing as far as typing or listening, and then gives it a little verbose information for us, and then finally, boom, it's initialized. So once we've initialized one of these chip computers, what do we do with it? Boom, we create a buddy, and then we converse. That's the first thing that happens. It gets the args, tells chip computer to initialize with those args, then it starts conversing. So, assuming all the args worked. So converse was we're just about to look at. So converse is just a big endless loop. This is the actual endless loop that does that is the program while true right here. Boom. Most of it is that. And then there's a cleanup and goodbye when you decide to leave. But so there's some setup initially. The initial setup is if I'm using text to speech, then set that up. And then I have a function called TTSA that's just to use right here. All it does is echoing, it speaks it. Otherwise, use on and uses either text to speech or uses say. And I haven't got super text to speech yet, so we're gonna always use say right now. We have speech recognition being initialized, and that's using. You may recognize this if you've used it before. You have to set up a recognizer from the speech recognition to get your microphone and to adjust for ambient noise and onward. That's pretty much it. Now we're loading the model, the LLM, at this point by asking it to rephrase, how can I help you today? That is the first time if it's assuming that the model is not loaded, so it says I'm loading the LLM at this point, to give you a little heads up that it might take a minute. Then we say, if we're verbose, we got to print a little return character for you. And then, boom, now we say what we have, what we said, hello. And then we decide whether we're going to have diatribe. Diatribe is another option in here, or paragraph. And basically it lets you speak or add more text freely, just keep adding it until you're done, and then when you're done, you basically hit return or say I'm done with this diatribe, or okay, I'm done, something like that, and it says that it sends the whole thing file except for that, and then that's how that works. And then while true, here's the loop, the big loop. Here's your text input, and it will announce listening sometime when it's listening. There you go. So while typing, it waits for you to type. This is because I'm using magic read line import. You get some magic abilities, which is that you can go back in history and stuff. So you'll notice that I can go up and down using up and down arrows. Pretty cool. All right, so that's one of the things you get for free with that read line. Meanwhile, while typing, it's otherwise it does listening. So it waits for me to type out something that it's going to actually act on, and if there's like a diatribe going on, then it believe that it will keep collecting that and going back in the loop until it's collected enough. And speech recognition, here it is where it's doing the audio segment stuff. Basically just have to trust me on this. This all works. I did a little trial and error on that. And then if there are not non-silent chunks, it'll basically it's too quiet. Say so. I commented out right now. And then it says okay, audio was received, so it prints return some okay, let's go. Then this takes a minute. Recognize Google. Yep, I have to call recognize Google. And then there may be some better one out there. Let me know. And then basically messages back. Doesn't work. And if it does work, we get the text. We're good to go. Seen it work. And usually the text doesn't have to be very long, so it's pretty usually quick. And then these are some of the things that are commands now. Suddenly all the commands show up. So before it does anything with the text, it checks to see if they are commands. So it makes a lowercase version of what you said and strips off most things. I guess punctuation isn't a problem. If you say quit, exit, bye, goodbye, farewell, see you later, gotta run, gotta go, end session, any of those things, then you're gone. It quits. If it's in a paragraph, then it can use to gather those pieces. And it's a little weird. Oh, I see what I'm doing there. Yeah, I'm basically just remembering that I have to mark whether it was the end of a paragraph or a diatribe or whatever, depending on how it was labeled. I don't know why it matters, but there it is. And then, oh, I see. I'm doing various combinations. These are, I didn't, rather than type out everything that you could have said, I just made all the combination list. So it gives you more things you could say. You could say end paragraph, end diatribe, finish paragraph, finish diatribe, end of diatribe, end of paragraph, paragraph over, diatribe over. So that's what that is. It's generating all those for us. Same here, begin, start. So it generates 4 from 2, and kind of messy, but whatever. It's kind of an idea that I have to maybe extend that. But you can also see it as taking notes, or whatever. But then it goes through and again use to look and see if any of these are the things you typed or said. Help, for example. I need to put all these in the help, I guess. Think, thinking on, no think, verbose. You can say thinking off. You can say verbose. You can say terse, or terse mode, or verbose off. You can say various things that are commands. Yo computer, hey computer, excuse me computer, pardon me computer, hello computer. So it's addressed as computer, but you could give it a name if you wanted to. And then new, clear, reset, restart. So basically all these commands just go straight to calling function, basically. So it comes from your spoken words, so this is your control of the robot, but so to speak. These are just like, you could have done this long before there were LLMs. Just made a little thing that does all this stuff. Probably many of us did for fun. Make it say, have a thing that turns your lights on and off. It's getting dark in here, sorry. I might have to turn on some light. Hold on, give me a sec. Stream's almost over. It's covering one more little bit of detail. Then I'm gonna get me a burrito. I needs me a burrito now. Let's see, we've got append the typed or spoken text to the array, so this is how it works. Goes in, if there's a diatribe, then it continues, otherwise it carries on. I should say it goes back up and gets more text if there's a diatribe going on. Otherwise it goes all the way, it joins all the text into a single prompt. There it is. And then gets a response, finally. It converses with the assistant. This is where all the magic happens right here. It gets the message back. And so some of these things up here were, one of them was generate image, reveal image, generate chatter. I'm not sure what that does. Oh, it generates and plays audio from the history, basically. Opposed to that's when I was gonna play with Chatterbox. I was gonna basically have it take what we had. Since real time text is pointless, I'll just have it reread what was done and put that into text to speech. What it did with that. Haven't gotten there yet. The better way to do it would be to just put it in the have it run the last message. So that's what the Chatterbox Assistant is about, and it's not quite there yet. But we'll see where we get with that soon. This is just a toy I'm playing with on the side as I'm developing things, and really this is more to see what these things are capable of when given small bites, small little tidbits of things rather than large chunks. Just giving them something to work with, and then now that I have this, can I, roll it into something more? This being, front end, I haven't really made anything that is reusable as a backend out of this. That would be great for, passing in lots of data in chunks, requests. But I need to think more about that because I have stuff that I need to do that is a JSON form that has ability to be turned into documentation that I have to then have that be hopefully coherent, have everything fit together properly when done. We'll see. It's a trick. I guess there's basic JSON to YAML conversion, do a lot of the work, but we'll see. Anyway, here we are now at, I keep scrolling up and down, but I mean to go to this part where we're done with this part. We've gotten the reply, we've conversed, conversation history, we print the content, and using a little wrapping in the terminal width, and we use some color depending on what's being printed to help us view what's being said. I think color is a good idea and should be used more. Maybe I'll even go with more fonts. The AI assistant speaks in a robotic font. And then we have boom, thinking. If there was thinking, then it will print that. Otherwise, it just prints the content that it got back. Finally, when speaking, it'll speak what was received, and then if anything exited that big loop, then it quits right here. So that's pretty cool. And then I have some basic functions that I use: rephrase, reveal images, generate image, generate chatter. I'm gonna call Chatterbox from the history. That's working. Yep, and each of these is gonna be. Can't wait to get them all working. Llama chat. Get a lot of reply. Yeah, there's really not much to point out here. I mean, it's very easy to use a llama. You just send it, the model name that you want, the messages in the right format, and the format isn't hard. You just get a recipe. You just use a recipe. In my case, the recipe is putting together a few little JSON blobs together, passing the message list, and the agents that I'm using. In this case, I'm just using this one, and its recipe is simple. It just takes the system prompt and adds the conversation. It doesn't do anything fancy. Prompty, you'll notice it's one. It uses the system prompt plus the conversation plus the user prompt. And the conversation that it uses goes into this, so it gets out an image prompt. I forget why it puts the whole conversation. I think there's an important reason why. I believe it's using the conversation to. Oh, I know why now. Yeah, it's using the conversation to actually get the whole conversation to get the image prompt rather than just the last thing you said. So it makes it more, encompassing. So let's go back and do one more thing where we get an interesting conversation, and we'll make some image prompts to go. And maybe we'll even start anew. Let's about this clear. So we're restarting. Now we're going to say listen. Once the model loads up, it'll start listening. Takes a minute. Yeah, ready to go. You can tell it's loading because everything's chunking.
Voice mode.
Gotta go out of voice mode for a second. You can hit Control C and it turns listening off. I did intercept Control C, which is a nice thing. You can actually say replay, replat. You misspell things. It's unfortunate. Replat.
Replating, the process of applying a fresh layer of the metal over an existing surface to restore or enhance its properties.
Notice the cool thing about having the ability to run in the background is I can say stop and stop the process that was speaking. That was another important aspect of this. So yes, you're not stuck having to listen to the entire thing being spoken if you're not interested in hearing about replating because you had a typo. So you can load again, say let's go back to our let's see where are we at. I guess maybe Infocom Adventure Rules? That's an interesting one. Now let's go back to prompt the agent, replay. Okay, yeah, we're doing some things. All right, back to co-hosting. Let's do some co-hosting on this podcast here.
Got it. Let's dive back into the live stream and keep the conversation engaging, insightful, and paced to keep listeners hooked. Voice mode.
So when it comes to AI agents, what do you think I should have it do? I give only a few little tools right now. Try again. So when it comes to agents, what do you think I should have it do? I need some tool ideas. I might have broken things when I hit Control C. Let's do this.
Goodbye.
Boop. Turn off the verbose. We don't need to see those verbose messages. We'll get the full immersive experience. So obviously things like this are going to be much
How may
better.
I assist you on this beautiful day?
Oh, thank you. Obviously things like this will become better as time goes on, and they become more rapid. Let's load that conversation again. We'll pick up right where we left it off. 28.
Voice mode.
So when it comes to AI agents, what do you think we should make the tools for it? I have only a few at this point.
We should start by building core tools that let an agent pull in external data, remember past interactions, plan steps, execute code or API calls, and log or audit its actions. Those 4 building blocks will let you chain together more specialized capabilities as you grow.
That sounds like a good idea. What's the first tool we should build?
The first tool to build should be a robust memory module that lets the agent store, index, and retrieve facts, context, and conversation history. so it can remember past interactions and use that knowledge to inform future actions.
Assuming we have that already, what would be the next thing? If we had that already, what would we do next? Trouble again. Have to get right up to the microphone. What do you think we should do next after that?
Next, build a lightweight planner that can break high-level requests into executable subtasks and schedule them.
That's pretty cool. I have a script that collects my GitHub issues. Should I incorporate that into it?
Absolutely. Wrap the GitHub issues script as a tool so the agent can pull in real-time issue data and use it to plan triage or generate to subject prompts.
Two subdid. Draft an agent like that prompty agent I showed you before that does this stuff.
Sure, just create a new agent that mimics the prompty structure but replaces the image generation logic with a tool that runs your GitHub issues script, parses the output into a JSON list, and feeds it into the planner for triage or status reporting.
You have my permission to go long form and generate a script that does exactly that. I don't know why it inserts these weird extra words. Is it gonna do it? Is it gonna do it? We're working on that AI agent, man. I get that thing to do what I want.
Absolutely. Here's a self-contained Python script that bundles the three key pieces you need: memory, planner, and a GitHub issues tool, into an agent similar to the prompty example you shared. Some Python code. How it works. 1. GitHub client pulls every open issue from the target repositories using the GitHub REST API and pagination. 2. Issue memory serializes those issues to a local JSON file. GitHub issue agent per issues, JSON, so you can reuse the data without hitting the API again. 3. Issue planner builds a prompt that enumerates all current issues, then asks a language model, defaulting to an OpenAI -40 mini-style model to output a concise triage planner status report. 4. Main
Stop
ties
speaking.
everything together: fetch, store, planned, and print a result, extending the agent. Add new tools by defining additional classes that expose a run method and wiring them into the planner prompt. Persist the plan by writing it to a file or posting it back to GitHub as a comment or issue. Add caching or incremental fetching by comparing timestamps before refreshing memory. Just install the required packages. Pip install requests OpenATQDM.
Well, at least I can spare you guys the suffering.
The agent in action.
Not too bad. Overall, very good. But yes, it speaks back, and it gave me some scripts. It gave me a pretty good little example here. Let me see what it looks like. Just curious. Did it really spit out anything useful? Sometimes, I mean, it's just GPT-OSS, and I'm just building on, prior conversations that I had with it. Python, GitHub issue agent, blah, 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 pull current issues. Oh, it did the whole thing. Your org, your repo. Wow, it totally filled it out for me. There you go. Grab your issues using GitHub client class. What does it do exactly? Oh, it's going for it. Calling the API and everything. Cool. Issue memory. I have a script that does some of this. Let's see how it compares. If I go to my GitHub, is that it? Called know if I have it here exactly. A lot of this is my vibe coding stuff. Assistant. This would be a good place to put that though. AI assistant coder life. .py. I don't know why I have a folder with a py folder.
A sample triage plan could read, top priority, issue number 12, critical auth bug, issue number 27, UI regression, blocker, PR number 45 awaiting review, overall status, 10 open issues, 2 blockers, schedule triage meeting next week.
I like it. Looks good.
Glad you liked it. Let me know if you want to tweak the plan format or add more detail for the next run.
Let's keep things interesting for the listeners. There may be some limit on the number of requests you can make to Google as far as text-to-speech.
Sure, if you're hitting Google TTS rate limits, you can either switch to a local TTS engine, e.g., Speaking or OpenAI's Whisper TTS if you have a GPU, use an alternative cloud provider like Amazon Poly or Azure Speech with higher quotas, or implement a short-circuit cache that reuses recently spoken text to keep the stream flowing without extra API calls.
Stop listening. There, that worked. That actually worked. Okay. See, sometimes it can take my commands. So as long as you can, spare the cycles and you have enough, whatever, Google bucks, you can use text-to-speech all day on Google, or speech-to-text, I'd say. It works all right, but it doesn't always get exactly what you're saying, and of course it doesn't put punctuation in, so it messes up some things. If you can get a better speech engine that does a better job of putting in punctuation and other things like that, that's what you should look for. So keep an eye out for that. Let me know if you know of anything. Meanwhile, I think the last bit I need to show here is that yes, you can show. At this point, I have it so you can throw files at it. I could give it another role. I could have it be a Star Trek assistant. Take on a new role. There's a way to do that in the when you load it. Go down here. Try a different role, I believe. I do have that. Args. Do I? Dot name. Yeah, I think it's No, that's the name of the conversation. Oh, maybe I don't have an option to give it a personality. Well, right now it's using agent assistant as helpy, prompty, and I do have Star Trek, which I guess I just never named, but it's effectively the same idea. It just tells you that, confirm execution and status, and it's rather not good. I need this to be reworked. I don't know if I can get an LLM to rework it properly, but it doesn't quite work properly because it constantly refuses normal conversational stuff that you would like it to just engage in. It's like it just won't. Just gets too uptight. Is basically what I'm saying. So I'm gonna work on that. Anyway, this is a cool idea to just exercise your skills in Python with LLMs for fun and other little tools like Comfy UI. Leveraging Comfy UI was not hard. The part of that, which you might want to see, is just this script here, and this is the image generator, and all it does is it, knows where Comfy UI is, 8188, and it sends the request over, but it also does some nice things, like has a little spinner that it shows, and then it doesn't run in the. I don't know if I'm using anything like running in the background. Doesn't look like it, but I could do that sort of thing where it runs in the background. But it's better if this is synchronous, so that other scripts are forced to wait for it, or not. they can choose. Then we have main. It does a random seed. It gets the arguments, and then it runs async IO. Imagine args. And yeah, it's using asynchronous IO, so it does await. It generates an image. There's your arguments. All the arguments you would expect for an image generator are thrown in here. Maybe not all, but some. And then, which workflow. And then the way I arranged the workflows was very simple. If the base one is like SD35 turbo or whatever, there's a little field map that just maps where does prompt go? It goes into field 1 text. There it is. That's field. Where does negative go? It goes into field 2 text. And negative goes there. And then model, goes there. And so on. And then the workflow itself is just your typical API export of a Comfy UI workflow, but I cleaned it up a little bit just to make it neat. And same with all the rest of these. They're just different workflows, different versions of Comfy UI, or not Comfy UI, but different models, additions. Some are turbo, some are large, some are stable diffusion with LCM, which makes it run like 4 steps. There's or 8 steps, and then there's others that are, a little slower, 30 steps or something, but whatever. Some do a little doubling of the size when they're done, and so on, because you can do anything you want with the Comfy UI workflow. So maybe I'll find a Comfy UI workflow that does text to speech. Who knows? So yeah, you can mix and match. I took this thing and mixed and matched it with this other script. So this one's calling that one, and this one could call that one if I wanted to for some reason. They could call each other. The only super cool part about this is just being able to display it in the terminal. Display image file in terminal. Using Comfy UI, you have display image data in terminal, and depending on the images protocol, it'll either display with inline image protocol, which I think is something that iTerm supports, or it'll use Kitty graphics protocol. And so I look for those here just by looking and seeing if you're using iTerm or Ghosty right now. But pretty cool. So you can use this in either one, and my AI assistant will display images in either one of those. So pretty neat. I'll probably post this up on my GitHub at some point, or maybe just as a gist. I don't know. It doesn't need to be too fancy. It's just 900 line script, most of its comments probably, and this thing to generate images is already up on my GitHub gist, so you can go check that out at github.com/thinkyhead. And yeah, check all the links in the description, do all that stuff. Support the project, support Marlon. Let's keep this thing going. Open source, that's what it's all about. I want to share what I'm doing as I'm doing it, and this is inspiring me a lot to, well, if anything, find help with AI one way or another. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. It's burrito time.